Good evening, everybody, and it is March 16th, 2022, a Wednesday. But today we heard from the Federal Reserve, and yes, we finally got our long-awaited rate hike. Only 25 basis points probably won't do anything to fight inflation, but Fed Chair Jerome Powell and the gang over at the Federal Reserve did manage to squeeze in a rate hike. Also, a little bit notable from that call today, we are expecting at least 7 more rate hikes, which means probably we're going to get a 25 to 50 basis point hike at every single Fed meeting. But I think the biggest sort of topic of the meeting today is the $8 trillion, now I think going on $9 trillion Federal Reserve balance sheet. And supposedly at the next FOMC meeting, Fed Chair Jerome Powell and the rest of the Fed presidents will address how to unwind that balance sheet. Obviously, we know it's made up of mostly mortgage-backed securities and U.S. Treasuries, and it seems like the market responded rather well to the 25 basis point rate hike, as we have a rip-roaring stock market. I believe the NASDAQ 100 finished up about 4% on the day. But will this rally be sustained, or will we roll back over? We'll talk about that more on the stream. So let's see who we have. We have Bianca M. Hey, Bianca. We have Joey. We have Jamie Price. Says, good evening, Tom, the ABX girl from the Bronx. Good to see the ABX girl. I see Thiago from Brazil. Good to see you, my friend. Vinny Castellano, the one and only from Staten Island. Always good to see you, Vinny Castellano. Sally is here. Welcome. I see my friend Otto. Chris Beeman. Charlie Richardson says, hey, Tom, and everybody. The one and only Lori E. Fox Tech 106 says, hey, Tom. Hemp Lord, Vinny Castellano, Maria Castellano, and Minraj. Welcome, everybody. So I'll just put my computer away. Allow me a minute to do that, and then we will get started. We're in downtown Miami, but we're going to be walking around the Financial District and the Miami Riverwalk. All right, we're ready to go. Well, I hope everybody had a good Wednesday. Already the middle of the week. Big week. Big day today. The Fed Day, officially. I see Nicole James says, hey, Tom from the UK. Good to see you. Hey, Lewis is here. Says, bro, you called oil. Good to see you, Lewis. Welcome. Humane says, good evening, Tom. Miami is looking good tonight. Welcome, Humane. Welcome, Lewis. MC UPS1 says, Powell played the strings very well today, I thought. Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't have a lot of time. I wasn't actually listening to it. I was just reading some articles. I was so busy at work today. But we did get that 25 basis point rate hike. As everybody knows, that's really not going to do anything to fight inflation because the balance sheet, the Federal Reserve's balance sheet, is still growing. And we could actually look at the Federal Reserve's balance sheet in real time on their website. But they did allude to the fact that they should start unwinding that balance sheet at the next meeting. And obviously, as we know, the majority of the Fed's balance sheet is all mortgage-backed securities and U.S. Treasuries. Lewis is here, says, hey, Tom, nice to see you. Hey, Lewis. I see Hunter Butler. Welcome, everybody. So we are outside of the First Presbyterian Church here in Brickell. Phenomenal place. Beautiful. UPS1 says, looking for double rate hike in May. Beware. Yeah, we may get that. But what were your thoughts, UPS, on the call today? Adam S. is here, says, greetings from Calgary. Good to see you, Adam S. I see the one and only British Gray from Tampa, Florida. Good to see you, British Gray. Lee Arnold says, good evening, Tom. Hope you've had a good day today. I did. It was a busy day at work. Really, really crazy day. It seems like this week has just been really wild for me. But wild is good. Wild is good. Check out the traffic coming over the bridge from downtown Miami into Brickell. Crazy amount of traffic. Hey, Peter Webley is here. Says, hey, Tom, it was 79 degrees in Los Angeles today. Beautiful weather. It was about 80 degrees here in Miami, bright sunshine. Although I believe in Sunny Isles Beach, they had a little bit of rain today. Hey, I see WW says, hey, Tom, was waiting for your stream. Yeah, we got a little bit of a late start. I was pretty busy at work. Hunter Butler says, hey, Tom, when are you back in New York? I am not too sure about that, Hunter Butler. To be determined. Ken Kramer says the Fed has been signaling a pullback from printing for years. Yeah, so I think Ken makes a good point, and Ken always makes this point, and I think it's a phenomenal one. You know, it seems like the Federal Reserve always tells us what they're going to do, but what they actually end up doing are two different things. So obviously we did get our first rate hike since 2018, but I think the biggest sort of topic here is that balance sheet, because what's causing all this inflation is not really artificially low interest rates. It is the unbelievable amount of money printing and that expansion of the balance sheet, which essentially comprises of mortgage-backed securities and U.S. Treasuries. So hopefully on the next call or the next FOMC meeting, we'll find out if they're going to actually start to unwind that balance sheet. Probably not, in my view, but we'll see. Jason FTO is here. Good to see you, Jason. Says, hey, Tom, how are you? I'm doing really good. I hope you're well, Jason. Judy D says, hi, Tom. Good to see you here. Welcome, Judy. The one and only Ruby Falcone is joining us. Good to see you, Ruby. Says, greetings, Walks in Wall Street family. Ruby, hope you had a great Wednesday so far. Tim M says, watching the volatility of these FOMC days is fascinating. Yeah, Tim, it seems like the market responded rather well. We'll watch the market action tomorrow, because if we close green again tomorrow on higher than average volume, I will be buying some stocks in my managed account, but there's a lack of setups right now. Mike S, the one and only, says, hey, Tom from the Bronx. Love the Bronx. Brunis is high. UPS1 says, Tom, strong reaction to the release, but Powell calmed everything down with explanations for how they got there and sticking to the inflation numbers. Yeah, so UPS, he actually signaled that the next couple quarters are going to be higher inflation. So maybe, you know, now that Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell is sort of telling the truth and not lying to us and telling us that inflation is going to be transitory, perhaps the market gained a little bit more confidence, to your point. But great point. Hey, Two Wheel Pines is here. So what's up, Tom? Good to see you, Two Wheel Pines. So we're starting off the stream from the Icon Brickell, which is right next to the W Hotel here. Running at altitude is here. Says, Tom, how are wages in comparison to inflation? Wages are stagnant. Wages are definitely not keeping up pace with inflation at all. So that is very bad news for the overall economy. But good to see you running at altitude. I see Abdullah is here. Lori E. Bruna. Ken Kramer says, if they stop printing, the market would implode. Yeah. So Ken, I think to your point, I think the Federal Reserve is going to continue to inflate, because there's really no way possible, to your point, that they could really unwind this behemoth balance sheet. Ethan G says, I have a house in Boca Raton, Florida. It's so nice there. Ethan, awesome. Yeah, Boca is really nice. I also noticed a lot of New Yorkers are going to Boca Raton for whatever reason. Have you noticed that, Ethan? A lot of New Yorkers there? So check out the lobby or the entrance to the W Hotel here. Roy S is here. Says, hello, Tom, and everybody, wishing you well. Roy, hope you had a good day. Ken Kramer says, Tom, don't trust the Fed. They've created the inflation issue. They're all about printing money. Yeah, Ken, I don't disagree. I definitely don't disagree with you, my friend. Robert says, hi, Tom. Big day on Wall Street today. Big day. Fed day today. We did get a 25 basis point rate hike, but sort of here's my thoughts on it. You know, supposedly, if we're really taking inflation seriously, right? If we're really supposed to take everything super serious in relation to inflation, you know, why are we only raising 25 basis points? Am I right? I mean, really, do you really think that raising rates 25 basis points is going to make a notable difference? Probably not. Probably not. I mean, even if you raise 25 basis points 7 times, rates are still going to be incredibly low. So I think really just the Federal Reserve is just doing this to sort of stall and kick the can down the road a little bit more. But I mean, in my personal opinion, let me know what you guys think. Do you really think that a 25 basis point hike is going to do anything for inflation? You know, I was talking to some of my buddies today because they were all calling me during the meeting, but I was on other conference calls and things like that. But all the texts were like, yeah, it's just essentially like a virtue signal to the market saying that, look, we understand that inflation's out of control and we're just going to at least just do something for show, but who knows? Go hard, brother, says Tom. Is 25 basis points enough? I don't think so, in my view. But, you know, there's a lot of conflicting opinions on that, and I am open to hearing all of them. Lewis brings up a good point. Lewis says it's the election year, Tom. So that is true. In the United States, so for anybody who is in the United States, we have what's called midterm elections. And that is an extremely, extremely politically charged time of year. Especially President Joe Biden is probably giving the nudge to Fed Chair Jerome Powell to really sort of get inflation under control, because a lot of Americans are probably going to vote against the Democrats, mainly because inflation is running wild. And I'm not saying that inflation is all the fault of the Democrats. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we're having crazy inflation, and it just so happens to be that this administration is Democrat. So they're probably going to get hammered at the polls. So I think Biden and his administration is putting a little bit more pressure on the Fed to at least signal to the market that they're doing something. But I guess we'll see how it plays out. So this is the garage of the W Hotel. The Cipriani is right here to the left. Ken Kramers has been buying the dips thanks to the Fed. Yeah, so financials had a really good day today as well. You look at Bank of America, Goldman Sachs. Obviously, in an interest rate rising environment, banks tend to make a little bit more money. So I think we'll see a little bit of an earnings pop this year, next year. Lewis's 25 basis points was a joke, Tom. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people think that. Hey, I see Ron Metro TV says, hey, everybody, good to see you. King is here, says, what's up? Good to see you. Welcome. The ABX girl says, I am following the state. If house emergency for apartments, I'm worried for Florida as the canary in the coal mine. Judy D says, Tom, how do you feel about monthly gas voucher? I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest. I think that, I mean, oil prices have come down, and we talked about that in last editions of the Behind the Street newsletter. I said, you know, I think oil prices are going to come down, all but temporarily. You know, if you look at crude oil futures, ticker symbol CL, we've corrected from like 130 down to 95. So let's see if we can catch some support at the 50-day moving average. Let me see if I missed any comments. I see Elias says, hello, Tom, from the Dominican Republic. Welcome, everybody, from the Dominican Republic. I see Abdullah says, good evening. Go hard, brother. Hey, Fernando is here. Super friends in the city. Good to see you, Fernando. Hope you're well. Wow, everybody, check out the fireworks in the distance. Can you guys see that? Check that out. Let me know if you guys could see it on the stream. It may be a little bit too dark here. JR says, Olaf from Colorado. Tom, we are expecting 8 inches of snow. Oof. Yikes. I think I'm over the snow for this year. Triple G is here. What's up, Triple G? Good to see you. I think the fireworks stopped now. Dante Rose says, Tom, did you hear about the earthquake in Japan? I didn't hear about an earthquake, but supposedly Japan is on tsunami watch. So I hope everybody is staying safe there, because I did hear about a tsunami watch. I got a notification from the Wall Street Journal. Super Friends in the City is here. Good to see you. Carlos Cruz says the Fed should have gone a full point. So I think you're right, Carlos, but what I really think the Fed is trying to do, I really personally don't believe the Fed is trying to get inflation under control. I really don't think that. I think that they're just trying to prevent the markets from crashing. And I think by raising the rates 25 basis points, it'll have some appeasement factor. ACO says, Tom, what does a day in the life look like during a business day? It's really just endless nascent conference calls with customers, or if I have a new client or a new prospect, I'm just presenting or doing demos and making pitch decks. I did a lot of troubleshooting today because one of the vendors that we resell a lot of these routers for like WAN solutions and things like that, there was a big outage, and I had to attend to that almost all day, so that was not good. Carol H is here, says, hey everybody, busy week. Hey Carol, good to see you. Carol, we were talking about the Federal Reserve. We got a 25 basis point rate hike, really nothing, but I think the biggest topic, or at least I think the biggest topic should be out of the whole thing, is how are they going to unwind this almost $9 trillion balance sheet that's obviously made up of the majority of mortgage-backed securities and U.S. Treasuries. So we'll see how that goes. I see Joyce Phillip is here, says good night, all the way from Trinidad. Tom, you must be fit like a fiddle. Good to see you, my friend. So we are right outside of the Cipriani here. At least I think I'm pronouncing that right. Usually we walk around the one right outside of Grand Central Station in New York City, but this is the one in Miami. So beautiful location, very expensive place, but it seems to be packed for a Wednesday night, at least. Extremely, extremely packed. So we'll take a walk at the Riverwalk. GGNYC, good to see you. So if anybody wants to read a little bit more about what the Fed said today, if you type !rate, R-A-T-E, in the chat, the Nightbot will drop a link in the chat to a CNBC article that really gives a good breakdown of sort of what was said during that Fed meeting today. So I would advise checking that out. Eric 20 says, have we seen the market bottom for the year in your lot? Have we seen the market bottom for the year in my lot? Eric 20, could you rephrase that? I'm not sure what. WW says, Tom, would you consider yourself a pretty independent person? I think so. I think so. Yeah, so Triple G, if you, it's right there. So the CNBC article, it's just a very basic article for anybody who didn't really have time to get up to date on what was said during the Fed meeting today. So now we are looking towards downtown Miami on Miami's Riverwalk. This is the Citibank building. And speaking of Citi, which is a major investment bank in the financial sector, a lot of the banks did well today. And I think that was mainly due to the interest rate hike we have. You know, the higher the rates are, you know, financial firms and banks tend to do a little bit better. Their earnings tend to increase, obviously, because they are lending money at rates. And if they can make a little bit more on the spreads, earnings should increase. Oh, Eric says market bottom in your opinion. So Eric, I'm not sure. So here's what I'm looking for. We had a pretty good day in the market today, but, you know, even though I'm always optimistic, here's the one thing that I think we need to really look out for, in my opinion. If you look at the stocks that were up the most, like a lot of these Chinese stocks, a lot of these ADRs, the American Depository Receipts, a lot of these were up 30% today, right? And that's could probably be just the majority of it is short covering and things like that. But there was actually some good action in the market. But the stocks that were up 10, 20, like 19% were all of these very high beta, high growth companies that tends to not be in too good of a setup right now. That tends to be classic bear market action. But I will say, if the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, as well as the Dow Jones Industrial Average, closes higher tomorrow on greater than average volume, that will be a follow-through day. And then we will have to ease back into the market and add to some positions, which I will do. Shauna says, how's Church and Dwight? Yeah, so Church and Dwight, that's funny you ask that, because we've actually been talking about that on the stream, because that's been an unfortunate market leader right now. So if you ask yourself why, well, it probably means that a lot of money managers on Wall Street think that there's probably a good possibility for recession. So if we think about some of the products that Church & Dwight manufactures, these are like your toothpaste, baking soda, like toiletries, things like that. So if we go into a recession, what's the last thing people are going to stop buying? Well, I mean, everybody needs to brush their teeth during a recession. So it's a little bit unsettling how those companies tend to be the market leaders right now. But we could have a rotation. Who knows? Melee is here. It says, hey, Tom and everybody. Good evening. What's up, Melee? Hope you're doing well. So this is the Aston Martin building here in downtown Miami. Chris Beeman is here from Arizona. Good to see you, my friend. Eric 20 says, I went long ZN, rates spiked today. Yeah, so I think that 10-year Treasury note is settling right above 2%. Hey, Cindy Foley, welcome, my friend. XOXX Bob is here. Good to see you, Bob. Judy D says, is that a blinking light and alarm? So I think over there, there's like always parties going on at that restaurant. I don't know if it's an alarm. Daniel G from Buenos Aires, Argentina is here. Says, hey, Tom, good evening. How are you? I'm doing good, Daniel. It was it's been a crazy week for me though, but everything is good. Hope. But Daniel G, we were talking about the Federal Reserve raising interest rates today. I know you were in Argentina, and I think Argentina, the inflation rate is about 50%. Is that correct? So what are your thoughts in the Argentinian market, and what do you think can be done to sort of put a cap on this inflation? I mean, really the only ideas I have is you got to significantly raise rates, not just 25 basis points, which is pretty much nothing. But I digress. Daniel G says, Tom, happy to hear you're doing great. Likewise. Hey, Bob says, Tom, full moon over Miami tonight. These boats are pretty cool here. Hey, the investigator's here. Says, hey, Tom, walks in Wall Street. I'm late. I'm sliding in like Kramer. Hilarious. Seinfeld reference there. Love that. Love that, the investigator. It was a pretty good day in the market, but I'm going to leave it at a cautious stay because a lot of things ripped. We had a gangbusters day in a lot of these stocks, but the stocks that gained the most were a lot of these beaten down, you know, stocks like your DocuSigns, and these things are down 80%. So what I'm concerned about is a rally back to the major moving averages and potentially rolling over. So just be aware of that and make sure you wait for the follow-through day. And if you're going to have any new buys, make sure you keep your stop losses rather tight. But I think this is probably a tradable one. King says, Tom, where do you live between New York City and Miami? Super friends in the city. Are you working tonight, my friend? The ABX girl says, Tom, New York City Mayor Eric Adams was in Florida for the crypto conference, or he will be, or was he, or he will be, because I think Bitcoin 2022 is April 6th through April 9th, in which case we do have a press pass. So if you guys want to watch a keynote speech from Kathy Wood of ARK Invest, as well as Michael Saylor, which is the CEO of MicroStrategy, and we may be able to sit front row and center when the Winklevoss twins are speaking. So if you want to check that out, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in April. Triple G says, Tom, are you surprised at Shopify's big dip this year, PE 27? I'm not surprised, because when the market gets going lower, and when the market turns, stocks can go a lot lower than people think. And the reason why I'm not surprised, and I wrote about this a little bit in the Behind the Street newsletter last week, you know, something similar happened in the year 2000 with the tech and telecom bubble. But what happened there is everybody was calling out a lot of these big name companies like Cisco. They're like, how could Cisco possibly go down 90%? There's no way. It's Cisco. There's just no way. And these people were buying every single week stocks like Cisco that really never recovered. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Cisco is still below the levels it was trading at during the 2000 dot-com bubble. So I think it's better to manage risk. Don't fall in love with the stock. And once we have that follow through day, the stocks that are setting up the best, that have the best earnings and things like that, probably should be bought with good risk management. Hey, John is here. What's up, John? Yeah, everybody's asking about this glowing red thing. Let me see if I could zoom in on it. You know, it does kind of look like an alarm, but I don't think so. Eric 20 says, Tom, do you think Russia's sanctions will remain as long as Putin is in power? I think so. I think they'll probably remain until things get so dire on the ground in Russia where the people or some of the Russian oligarchs start to get very, very upset. Let's just say that. But what do you think? I'm interested in your opinion on that, because I want to hear what everybody else thinks too. Hey, War Walker, the one and only, says, good evening, Tomcat. I hope you had a good Wednesday. What's up, War Walker? I hope you had a good Wednesday too, my friend. Lori E says, Tom, one unexpected press conference or additional report of civil unrest in the world can change everything. Everything is on razor thin ice: economy, housing, stock market, peace. It's all precious. Very nicely put, Lori E. Very nicely put. Hey, Brian is here. Says, good evening, Tom, and everybody in the chat. Hey, Brian. Look, we got another boat coming by. Chris Beeman says, love this view. Yeah, this is the Miami Riverwalk. I very, very much enjoy it as well. Hey, Andrew says, best Wednesday this week. Good to see you, Andrew. Samantha R, the one and only. Good to see you, Samantha. How are you? Brian says, Tom, I think these sanctions will remain until Putin is forced to stop. Well, supposedly, I mean, the last thing that I heard on this Russia situation, which is horrible, it seems to be getting worse by the day in terms of just the civilian, not only the civilian casualties, but just all the property damage and the infrastructure damage too. One of my good friends sent me a video where just regular civilians' apartments and homes, and even sometimes preschools and things like that, are being hit by Russian artillery and other sort of airstrikes and things like that, which is really horrible. But supposedly there are peace talks underway between the Russians and the Ukrainians. I'm not sure how successful those will be, but the last thing that I heard was that Putin will agree to a total ceasefire if Ukraine sort of demilitarizes, and I think that chance of that happening is next to zero. But what do you guys think? Oh, check this out. What is this? It's like a floating platform. Can you guys see this, or is it too dark? Check that out. Gummy Bear says, do you think the situation in Ukraine and Afghanistan are similar? Well, I don't think they're similar, just mainly because the situation in Afghanistan has been going on for many, many, many years. And I don't believe there's any U.S. troops involvement in Russia right now. Yeah, everybody says there's a floating bar. Yeah, the ABX girl's like, it's a mini floating, it almost looks like a tiki type house propped up on a bunch of wheels. It kind of looks interesting. WW says, Tom, what do you use to stay informed? I mean, the really only mainstream media sources that I read is like the Wall Street Journal, Barron's, Investors Business Daily, as well as Bloomberg as well. I read a lot of Bloomberg. Roy S says, floating bar, maybe they come from the East River in New York City. Yeah, I think that current would maybe be a little bit too strong. Hey, Phil Esco is here, says this is a good stream. Thank you, Phil. Thank you everybody for joining. If you're enjoying the stream, feel free to leave a like on the video. Hey everybody, the one and only Paranormal Witness Girl is joining, says hello, hello. Good to see you, Paranormal Witness Girl. Matthew C says it's a wet bar. Good to see you, Matthew. Yeah, running at altitude is like I don't even see any life jackets. Jared Covey, what's up, Jared? This is demilitarized, but put Ukrainian in NATO. That might work. Yeah, I mean, so Jared, that's actually a good point. I never thought about that. But here's sort of my opinion on that. I think here's another one. I think the chance that Ukraine demilitarizes would have to imply that they trust Russia. And why would they trust Russia now, being that they're being relentlessly bombarded by Russia? It just doesn't seem to make sense right now. So I think that those talks probably won't amount to anything. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but I don't see an instance where Ukraine would say, yeah, sure, we'll give up all our weapons. No big deal. I just don't know. Hey, Brian is here, says, hello from Florida. Good to see you, Brian. Hey, Eyeglass Lady, welcome, my friend. Good to see you, Eyeglass Lady. Hope you had a good Wednesday. Lewis is Tom. I forgot to like for today live. Please, everybody, give the stream a like. Good to see you, Lewis. Eric 20 says, Tom, why didn't the Evergrande situation become larger than feared? So, Eric, here's something that I've been really concerned about, and I actually don't even get it. The Chinese commercial paper market is such a mess right now. And I wrote a short column about this in the Behind the Street newsletter, I believe, 2 weeks ago. You know, if you look at the Chinese commercial paper market, it is now trading below levels than what it was during 2020. And obviously, what happened in 2020, there was a massive COVID pandemic, which essentially locked up and froze the credit markets globally. But why is it that now that COVID's winding down, pretty much everybody's done with it, that the Chinese commercial paper market is actually in worse shape than it was? And not many people are talking about it. There are some fund managers on Wall Street that are. But the only sort of thesis that I can come up with here in relation to the Chinese commercial paper market is that everybody just thinks that the People's Bank of China is just going to take care of it and bail everything out and make it state-owned, which could be true. But to be honest, I don't know. It's perplexing to me, to say the least. Hey, Lewis is Tom. Impossible. Ukraine gives up their arms. They have separatist movements inside the country, and they are well armed, so it's a national security issue. That's a good point, Lewis. That's a good point. John says, Tom, I am hoping Russia comes to peace talks with Ukraine, peace not war. I agree too, but it just doesn't seem like that's in the cards, unfortunately. But look, I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. NG is here, says, good evening. Good to see you, NG. Welcome. Jerry, what's up, Jerry? Lori E says, good to see you. Jared says, if Ukraine was in NATO, they would need to trust members of NATO to protect them. And I mean, at this day and age, I don't even know about that anymore. Not to be too pessimistic. Tugga Carter is here. Says, hey, Tom, so good to see you tonight, watching from Georgia. Love Georgia. You know, I may be in Georgia later this year, so stay tuned for that. But speaking about going to other states, I will be in Philly. So next week, everybody, we will be doing some traveling on the stream, so I may not be live about 5 days a week. I may be gone for like 2 days. So I have to fly back to New York, and then I got to get an Amtrak train to Philadelphia because we have some pretty big meetings, which I'm looking forward to. So maybe we'll get some footage from the new Moynihan train station, the Amtrak train station. Anybody here from Philly or have been to Philly that could provide any recommendations on where to go? Because I've never been. I'm actually pretty excited to go. Samantha R, the one and only, good to see you. Santos is Tom, lovely palm trees. Yeah, these are fantastic. You know, for some reason, just looking at the palm trees makes my stress levels go down. I think that could be said with any type of plant or tree. Ruby Falcone says, eventful days coming. Very exciting. Yeah, I mean, supposedly Philly's nice. So, I'm excited about it. I apologize for the wind noise in the mic once again, but I just didn't even have time to leave the office today. I was so busy. Paranormal Witness Girl says, we need a video of the day in the life in tech sales, Tom edition. I think that would probably bore you guys to death. But Paranormal Witness Girl, good to see you. Hope you're well. Hopefully you're not sick anymore too, Paranormal Witness Girl. Hopefully you got over that. Photos from around New York, like Tom visited Rittenhouse Square, is one of the most popular parks. I'll take a screenshot of that. Hey, Ron Metro TV says, despite defense agreements, the U.S. has not prevented China to take territory in South China Sea. The ABX girl says, Tom, lunch at Gino's or Pat's cheesesteaks. Let me screenshot that. Santos here, good to see you. Sabrina Fair, good to see you, Sabrina Fair. Welcome. Tug Carter. A lot of people with dogs in Miami, I noticed. WW's his face reveal, maybe. Hey, Ron says, Tom, check out Reading Terminal Market in Philly. Let me screenshot that as well. DWG says you should take the train. So we're going to take the Amtrak. You know, I could fly or drive. I was thinking about that, but I'm like, you know what? I haven't taken the Amtrak and I want to check out the new Moynihan train station. Hey, Jamie Massetti says, Tom, the U.S. isn't the police of the world. You know, that's an argument that a lot of people say. Like, you know, why should we be getting involved in a lot of the foreign affairs? Which I totally understand and agree with. But then also the argument on the other side is, you know, if we don't get involved, you know, this could kick the can down the road and sort of turn into like a World War II situation where it was caused from appeasement, right? So World War II started with appeasement. So if you don't sort of nip everything in the butt immediately, it could turn into a big problem. But you make a good point. But for anybody who's just joining, we were briefly talking about the Federal Reserve. It was a big day today on Wednesday. We heard from the Fed. We did get an interest rate hike of 25 basis points, which probably won't do anything to help fight inflation. But we did hear some guidance that at the next Fed meeting, we should be getting some more color on if the Federal Reserve is going to unwind their behemoth $9 trillion balance sheet. Hey, Scooter Outlaw says, Tom, check out the Rockies statue. Oh yeah, interesting. That is in Philly, I guess. More walkers as it looks so peaceful in those condos. So I was going to do a stream from Brickell Key, which is all the way over here, but the internet is not good. Beautiful islands I've ever been on in my life, and it is called Brickell Key. I was walking around there on one of my lunch breaks this week, and it was really unbelievable. But unfortunately, the internet is not good over there. Hey, Otto says, Tom, World War III has been underway for years now. The global elites versus the plebs. I mean, that's actually a pretty good argument. Not gonna lie. Eric 20 says, what are the mechanics of the Fed unwinding? What will actually happen? So what I think will actually happen is the Fed will continue to buy assets. And when I mean buy assets, I mean buy U.S. Treasuries and mortgage-backed securities. I mean, to Ken's point, and I believe Ken mentioned this earlier in the stream, you know, the Federal Reserve essentially has turned into an entity that just wants to keep financial markets propped up. And the way they do that is by buying assets on their balance sheet and expanding that balance sheet. But unfortunately, that causes inflation, but it also causes inflation of asset prices too. Hey, Jamie Massetti says, Tom, I can't wait to be in Miami in late May. Love to spend some evenings in Bayside. Yeah, Bayside's beautiful. I think you're going to love your trip, Jamie. You're going to really, really love your trip. Otto says there's 2 Ottos in the chat. Hey, EBITDA is here. Hey, EBITDA. Says, hey, Tom, quite the close for today. Atlassian had quite a move up. Yeah, so EBITDA, to your point, it was a good day in the market today. We rallied hard off the back of that 25 basis point rate hike, but you know, one day doesn't make the market. So if we have a follow-through day tomorrow, I will be, at least I have to buy something, but there's a lack of setups in this market right now, unfortunately. But EBITDA, the banks did good. Bank of America, Goldman Sachs. So I think the financials did good, obviously, because rates are going up and banks make money on the spread. So as they lend out money at higher rates, earnings should increase. So this is the Mandarin Oriental Hotel. Hey, Judy D says, Tom, would you be able to take us up in a tall building to show us the view? So maybe we'll do that tomorrow. Maybe we will stream from my WeWork little office I got down here. Hey, IAM says Action Kid. Yeah, Action Kid moved down here as well. EBITDA says, yes, besides the obvious Bank of America stock, I have a good bit of JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs as well. Very nice, EBITDA. Oh yeah, EBITDA, you probably have a lot of Bank of America from like your employee purchase program or something like that as well. Nice. Hope you're having a good Wednesday though. EBITDA, already halfway through the week. Hey, Tucson says, check out Society Hill in Philly, south of Independence Hall. Also 606 South 3rd Street was the birthplace of Larry Fine of the Three Stooges. I'll screenshot that as well. Thank you, Tucson. Hey, WW, thank you for the $5 donation. I appreciate it. And thank you for watching the streams, and hopefully you're enjoying the streams. So thank you, WW. Our friend EBITDA says, yeah, exactly. They have been pretty generous with it. Well, that's good. But EBITDA, so I want to know your thoughts. Obviously, everybody that doesn't know, EBITDA does work in the finance industry at Bank of America and investment banking. So what do you think about this 25 basis point rate hike? Do you think it's going to do anything to fight off inflation? Or do you think it's more of just like a virtue signal from the Fed to kick the can down the road further? Because supposedly there's going to be a 25 basis point rate hike at every single Fed meeting for the next 6 meetings. I mean, even if you raise 25 basis points 6 times, it's not really going to make a difference. But the biggest sort of mention in that report was the unwinding of that $9 trillion behemoth deadly balance sheet. And I'm not sure how they're going to do that without crashing the global economy. But I guess we will stay tuned on that. Doug Brown says, I like Action Kid. I like him too. I like him too. Photos from around New York says, walks from Wall Street. If you have time, you should see the Liberty Bell and Independence Hall. I may have a little bit of time. I should be there for 48 hours. So we'll see. Ron Metro TV says, thank heavens I did not have any stock options from the bank I used to work at there in 2008. Yes, so Ron Metro TV, that's another really good point. You know, so a lot of managing directors and, you know, even associates and VPs at a lot of the investment banks, you know, when you talk about getting your bonus is majority made up of company stock, or at least it used to be. So sometimes you'll get a bonus of, say, you know, $250,000 if you're a managing director, sometimes even more. But it's not like that's all liquid cash, right? A lot of that is tied up in stock of the company. So during 2008, to Ron Metro TV's point, A lot of these managing directors and big Wall Street bankers were worth multi-millions of dollars, sometimes 20, 30, 40 million dollars on paper. But when banks like Bear Stearns went to zero, all of that paper wealth was evaporated overnight. So really crazy to think about. So that's a good point, Ron Metro TV. Hey, Emilio J is here. Says Powell seems to think the recession talk is absurd. That concerns me. They seem really disconnected from reality. I agree. I mean, I think the biggest disconnection from reality is that they think a 25 basis point rate hike is going to do anything to fight inflation. But I mean, I guess those are the times we're living in. Kind of crazy. Hey, John says, have a great night, Tom. You as well, John. Hey, Brad's Brain says, good evening all. Hey, Brad. Good to see you. EBITDA says the first one won't do much. Bernanke once said the Fed is 90% communication and 10% action. I think that is what JP or Jerome Powell is trying to mirror. He needs to not spook the market while he's acting. That's actually probably the comment of the night so far, EBITDA. I think you're right on the money with that one. I mean, I think he did a really good job to massage things over. Even though he says we're going to take a more aggressive stance on inflation. 25 basis points, I think that's why the market's rallied. They're like, okay, the market is essentially saying, look, at least we're doing something. We're making progress towards at least potentially fighting inflation. But the very last thing Jerome Powell said is at next meeting, we're going to talk about unwinding that balance sheet, whatever that may look like. But as you guys know, and as I wrote about in the Behind the Street newsletter that I sent out last week, it's more important to really focus on what the Fed is doing as opposed to what they're saying. And we could check the Fed's balance sheet in real time. And I think I dropped the link in the description for anybody who actually wants to see the Federal Reserve's balance sheet, because you could take a look at it, and it's a very cartoonishly hilarious hockey stick chart from the bottom left to the top right as they keep buying assets. MCW UPS1 says, I'm guessing I'm on his side with the background in logistics. I see the supply side issues. Once fixed, we'll see balance. Hedge funds don't see recession either, says UPS. Interesting. Very interesting. Hey, John says, signing off. Good to see you. IAM says, where is this in Miami? Sorry, I just joined. So this is the Riverwalk. So if you look directly ahead where the Citibank building is, that is downtown Miami. But now we walked across the bridge to Brickell. So when we come out here and to the left, you can see Brickell, the financial district here in Miami, as well as Mary Brickell Village. Ron Metro TV says, do you think the Fed is only giving a Band-Aid to a gunshot wound? I mean, I think everybody really understands globally that we are in a massive debt crisis. And we've essentially, ever since we went off the gold standard to a fiat standard, money printing has been really what's propping up global financial markets. And I think that's why you've seen the extreme declines in the US dollar. But just take a look at the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. I think in one of the newsletters, if you type !news and you click the link, I think it was the first or second newsletter or two newsletters ago, I gave everybody the link where you could track the Fed's balance sheet in real time and see if they're lying or not, right? We were supposed to have all of this taper talk, but there was no action. It was all talk, no action, and the balance sheet actually expanded. It went up as opposed to went down. Hey, Samson says, Tom, if Saudi Arabia stops selling oil in dollars, you will lose half of your purchasing power. Probably more. We'll probably lose more than that, to be honest. But Samson, you're totally correct. We did have some news that came across the Bloomberg terminal yesterday, I believe. And I think somebody else brought it up in the chat too, that the Saudis as well as China are debating or are in talks to start pricing oil in Chinese yuan as opposed to US dollars. And that is extremely concerning, to say the least. That is really the only thing that is making the US dollar the world reserve currency. So it seems like a lot of global world leaders are making a move on the United States all at once. So really interesting times, and Samsung, to your point, that could really impact the dollar. And speaking of the Dixie sold off hard today. Dollar was down. Dollar was down big. Hey, Richard Walter says 25 basis points every 3 months seems like the best approach at this point. This is Richard. Good to see you, Richard. Ron Metro TV says decline in U.S. currency is good news for overseas workers sending money to their home countries. Yeah, like in terms of remittances, you're right. But I think money printing and inflation is not good for anybody. But you do make a point in terms of price competition. T and Me TV, good to see you, my friends. This is good stream and info. I learn every time I come here. Yeah, we have a lot of smart people in the chat. A lot of good conversation. Crazy day in the markets today, T and Me TV. So thank you for being here. Samsung says they aren't in talks. They already did it. People will start dumping dollars back in the USA. Hyperinflation. Did they really already do it? I thought they were just in talks to doing it. Very interesting. But thank you for that, Samsung. Thank you for that piece of information. Very highly valued by me. The Miami rep is here. Says, my guy, I've been watching a lot of your videos lately. Hey, thank you, Miami rep. I just moved to your great city not too long ago, probably about 4 months ago, and I'm really enjoying it, so thank you so much. Manthony18 says, China has their own financial problems, 100%. I think the biggest glaring problem that I see is the Chinese commercial paper market, which is actually really scary. So obviously, if you want to read more about that, I wrote a short piece on it, and I'm actually coming out with another newsletter very soon, hopefully once things die down at work, which I'll be doing a little bit more in-depth explaining into the Chinese commercial paper market. But here we are at the Cipriani, where all the important people hang out. Hey, Mike. What's up, Mike? We have Mike Simmons says, Tom, futures starting to turn red for tomorrow. Yeah, I think the most important thing to look for, one good day in the market doesn't make a market, right? We are very extended to the downside from the major moving averages. So we could easily bounce to the 20-day moving average or the 50-day moving average and roll right back over. We really need to watch price and volume here. So we'll keep our eye on that for tomorrow. Good to see you, Mike. Yeah, EBITDA says Saudi Arabia is still considering petrodollar. Nothing has happened yet. We would definitely know. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, that would have been like blockbuster headlines. And I don't really think they could move that fast. I don't think that's possible, but I'll have to check it out when I get home. Ron Metro TV says, Tom, you should consider writing a book. So I think I'm just going to stick with the newsletter. I enjoy writing the newsletter because I like to write about more current events, stuff like that. The Miami rep says, Tom, downtown Miami will look a whole lot different in 10 years. Plenty of 1,000-foot towers are planned. Yeah, so there was, what's it called? It's, I'm blanking, I'm sorry. I think it's the Waldorf Astoria Towers is going to be one of the tallest buildings south of the World Trade Center in New York. And I don't know when that's going to be complete. I think 2026. But the Waldorf Astoria is going to be right here in downtown Miami, and it's going to be massive. Also in Sunny Isles Beach, I believe we are waiting on the Bentley Tower, which is going to be constructed fairly soon. Hey, what's up, Jay? Jay says, it's been really busy, Tom, in Dayton at the Final Four. What's up, Jay? Good to see you. The Mighty Bulls is back in the house. Hey, Tom, the one and only Mighty Bull. Well, the Bulls were certainly running today, the Mighty Bull on Wall Street. Good to see you, my friend. Jack O says, grocery store billionaire owner warns of food price increases. How did he get the billions of dollars? Probably from owning all the grocery stores. But Jack, I mean, to your point, I'm expecting extreme food price inflation. I mean, inflation that's going to rip the face off of the lower and middle class, unfortunately, and really affect people a lot. And I think this Russia-Ukraine situation has a lot to do with the coming food price inflation, especially because of different commodities like wheat and things like that, which have been just skyrocketing. So I think, to your point, I think inflation is going to persist. And we heard from Fed Chair Jerome Powell today, where he even said himself, he's like, look, the next 2 quarters, we're going to see inflation ramp. He said that himself today. But taking a more positive outlook, he said once we get at least 6 rate hikes in at 25 basis points each, inflation should come down. But he's like, in the short term, inflation should be higher than it actually is today. And just to give you an idea, our last CPI print, which we just got, I believe was 7.9%. So almost 8% inflation per annum. Pretty crazy. Jack O says, Tom, 30% of the wheat is off the market from Ukraine. Arturo Flores says, what's up, Tom? Good to see you, Arturo. Hope you're well. Tom M says, Joe B blamed Russia for the huge jump in gasoline prices, but it isn't flying on Main Street. So now he's placing blame with big U.S. energy companies. Yeah, and Tom M, we covered that as well. I mean, it's obvious Russia is not responsible for all of this inflation. I think the only sort of the Russian conflict is going to increase energy. I mean, not energy. Is going to increase food prices a little bit in the short term. But if you look at the big macro picture, there's a direct correlation between the expansion of the Federal Reserve's balance sheet and inflation. It's not Vladimir Putin who caused the inflation. And that's not to say that he's not doing egregious things in the Ukraine. But what I'm saying is that they have nothing to do with one another, right? And I think a lot of people in the media right now, they're saying, oh, if you are saying that Vladimir Putin is not causing inflation, that means you're agreeing with what Vladimir Putin is doing in Ukraine. And this dog is adorable. But that's not true. That's not true. That's fake news. What is the real news is that if you print money, if you print 70% of all US dollars ever created in existence in 8 months, the prices of goods and services are probably going to go up. But I get it. I think Biden is just trying to do a political stance. I don't necessarily think he's trying to be malicious about it. I think he's just really trying to put the pressure on Russia and Vladimir Putin due to obvious reasons of what is going on in that country right now. Samson is here, says Putin is the gift that keeps on giving and gave us Trump and inflation. Says Samson. Mark says 7.9% inflation seems low. Should be closer to 16 or 18%. Well, I think real inflation is probably closer to 30%. But if we're going based off of the CPI, that print came in at 7.9%. But I agree with you. I think if we actually look at the real value, not value, or the real inflation number, it's probably closer to 30. Hey, Marty Lewis is here. Hey, Marty, good to see you, my friend. The one and only Photos from Around New York is here, as well as the NYC Cherry Groove. Good to see you, Cherry Groove. Hope you're well. The Swan, welcome. Good to see you, Swan. Jonathan France, welcome, welcome. Crazy Autos is Tom. Iowa needs to get off those ethanol subsidies and grow wheat instead. So everybody, now we are in the financial district. If you look straight down here, these are where all the major banks are. Obviously right here we have the Bank of America Tower. But if we keep walking down this street, we'll see many, many more banks. But NYC Cherry Groove, it's good to see you, my friend. Hope everything is going well in New York. So I'm not sure if you guys saw on the Discord. So if anybody who's not joined the Discord, it's in the link in the description. We tend to share different articles, thoughts and opinions on the market, and even job opportunities as well. But I posted an article about rental price increases for single family homes, which we were actually talking about as the topic of last night's stream. And single family home prices, or the rents of single family homes in Miami, are up 33% year over year. That is insane. And the vast majority of the rents that are up are in the Sunbelt locations. I also believe San Diego was up massively. New York, I think, is up about 7% in terms of rents, but single family housing rents are in Miami are up 33%. That is crazy. That is really crazy. So Cherry Group, what are your thoughts on that real estate market in New York? Do you see rents increasing in New York? And the reason why I ask Cherry Groove is because he's actually a real estate agent and he knows real estate really well in New York. So I'd love to know your thoughts. Hey, the Miami rep says, Tom, this church was awarded how much money? 125 mil. Wow. So this church may soon turn into a massively tall tower. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I kind of like the look of it amongst all of these buildings. Cherry Group says, Tom, the rents are up around 30% in New York City too. Jeez. So NYC Cherry Group, do you know what the legalese is in New York City in terms of renting, in terms of increasing your rental price? Because, for example, here in Miami, a lot of landlords are literally raising the price of rent 30% overnight without any sort of 2-month or 3-month warning. I'm not sure what it is in New York. I'm sure you're not allowed to, raise it 30% or something egregious month to month. I'm sure you need some sort of notice, but I'm not sure. I would love to know your thoughts on that. Hey, the Miami rep says, yes, 125 million if the tower is approved and goes through. Yikes. So the Miami rep, I was briefly walking through Wynwood, and I think the same thing is probably going on in Wynwood right now, because you see so many apartment buildings going up, and these buildings are gorgeous. But then every other block, you'll see like a single family home that's almost in disrepair. So I think a lot of these people are going to get paid out quite handsomely. So hopefully they hold out for an extremely long time and then finally settle on some ridiculous amount. But I could be wrong, but it seems like Wynwood and Edgewater too is developing like crazy. And every other building on the block is like a brand new luxury multi-family residence. Hey, Lori E says, Tom, raising a family housing, groceries, gas, heating, and electricity costs a lot more now than it did before the election. Yeah, it seems like the price of everything is going up now. We got the one and only Miami-Dade Fire Rescue. Big ups to them. You guys know we love FDNY, NYPD, and now, since we're in Miami, big ups to our fire and police here. I feel like I'm back in New York. Hey, Faith. What's up, Faith? Says, hello, Tom, and all in the chat. NYC Cherry Group says, hey, Tom, are you renting your room to Action Kid? Yes. No, I'm not. I am not, unfortunately, but Cherry Groove. So, it's good. I'm glad that you're on tonight. It's good to see you. I haven't talked to you in a while. So, here's what I think I'm going to do at the property. I'm more than likely just going to Airbnb the individual rooms, but I think if I listed my home on the market for a single family rental, I think in this market I could probably get $2,600. So it's tempting, but I'm not going to do it because I need a place to live. And I don't think I could do it legally because I just bought the house within the year. So it's actually going to be illegal to do that. And I would never do that. I always play by the rules. But if I were to rent out my entire house, I could probably get $2,600, maybe $2,700, which to me is just I can't even comprehend that. But I think for now I'm just going to Airbnb out the individual rooms when I'm here to tourists and things like that. But although I've been getting a lot of interest for people wanting to rent it, you know, for a month at a time from people that are just nomadic around the country working remote. So I guess we'll see. I'm undecided. Andrea's A says, Tom, turn your house into an NFT and sell it twice. And I think I get a royalty every time somebody else sells it too, don't I? I guess it depends on how I structure the NFT. Jerry says, can we find your Airbnb with the tag Walks in Wall Street? Yes. That would be funny. It's not a bad idea, actually. Daryl says, good evening from Chicago, Illinois. What's up, Daryl? Hopefully I can get to Chicago this year. So I'll give you one more look at Bank of America Tower from this angle. But it's good to see a Faith. Hey, Marjan Worldwide. Good evening, Tom. I think the extreme increase in rent is due to the moratorium. It's an unfortunate after effect. Yeah, Marjan Worldwide. So if anybody wants to, and the reason why I say this is because I retweeted a very interesting piece of information that came out of California. Somebody that I follow on Twitter posted a screenshot of what their landlord was sending them. So check it out if you follow at Walks Wall Street on Twitter. You know, 4 streams ago, we were doing an entire stream about how I believe these eviction moratoriums are actually going to backfire on the government and create the exact opposite effect of what they wanted. And what I mean by that is I think it's actually going to make these landlords not trust anybody and not budge at all on either the asking price or on any of the requirements. So for example, in New York at least, or in many cities around the country, you need to make at least 40 times the rent. If you have a guarantor, they need to make at least 80 times the rent, and you need to have a 750 credit score. So what that's allowing is only rich people that are well capitalized to be able to afford an apartment or a place to live, and everybody that's middle class or lower class, well, these people can't even get homes or housing, which is a massive issue. That's horrible. And I'm not really sure what the solution is, but I think to your point, Marjan, a lot of these eviction moratoriums created a lot of bad blood between the landlords and their trust in their tenants. Hey, the Mighty Bulls is watching, learning, and thinking. Good to see you, Mighty Bull. NYC Cherry Group says, Airbnb as I know it, you have to rent it out for less than 30 days, Tom. Yes, that is true. Well, you can do long-term rentals on Airbnb. The only reason why I don't want to move a full-time tenant into the place, at least right now, is because I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling for work. And I'm not sure the property is ready just yet for long-term tenants. So when I'm here, you know, if somebody wants to stay 2 or 3 days, I think that's a pretty good idea. But we'll see. But if we walk down East 8th Street, there's so much new construction down here. And if we walk all the way down here, we'll hit into the brand new Brickell City Center. So we'll attempt to cross the street here. I think there's actually a diagonal sidewalk too.
Wait.
It's telling us to wait. MVT says, you sound good tonight, unlike Interstellar soundtrack, like you usually do. That's hilarious. MVT, good to see you.
Wait.
Yeah, I think it's because it's not windy tonight. Jerry says, Tom, I've stayed at several Airbnb where they never met the host. It was all turnkey. That's true. I just don't know if I'm comfortable doing that because this is my first property I've ever owned, so I'm not, I don't know. That is a good point though. Cynthia Beal, good to see you. Hope you're well, Cynthia. So the walk sign is on. So we'll walk across Brickell Avenue. But good to see you, Cynthia Beal. I see Dutchman is here, welcome. Jay says, I moved back to Ohio to take care of my mother before, oh man. Jay, for some reason I thought you lived in Florida, Jay. Or am I thinking about somebody else? Hold on, maybe I missed a comment here. But Jay, for some reason I could have sworn you were from Florida. NYC Cherry Groove, yes. So Cherry Groove asked a good question, says, Tom, any temptation to check out Havana, Cuba? There is a lot of temptation, but I'm actually not sure if we're allowed to. Are Americans allowed to go there now with COVID? I know under the Obama administration, now American tourists are allowed to go to Cuba, which I think is great, but I think because of COVID, we may not be allowed there right now. But I could be wrong. Jay says, Tom, I lived in Florida in the 70s and 90s. Yeah, I think you told me that one stream, and that's why I thought you lived here now. Ron Metro TV says, Tom, just out of curiosity, what is your biggest purchase that is not an investment? That's a good question. I really don't know. I got to think about that. My biggest purchase that's not an investment. Oh, probably like my computers. I spend a lot of money on tech, like a lot. Well, I would consider my home an investment. It's going to cash flow really nicely. But probably like computers and things like that. And unfortunately, I operate on all iOS too, so that doesn't help out with the price. All right, so if we walk down here, we will hit right into Mary Brickell Village. Alan Wilson says, a trip to Publix is my biggest purchase, especially now, unfortunately. So Alan Wilson, also the Whole Foods. I actually just went to the Whole Foods here in downtown Miami. My jaw was on the floor. I couldn't believe how expensive it was. I think this is probably the most expensive Whole Foods in the country. I went in to buy like a little juice, like a green drink, and I think it was almost 10 bucks. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. It was insane. I think we'll walk by the, what's it called? The Whole Foods today. Somebody says Publix has the best sandwiches. I don't know. There's a grocery store called Wegmans, which I believe is based in upstate New York. They have some pretty good Italian heroes. And I think we're actually getting one here in New York City near Astor Place. So if anybody's familiar with where the old Kmart was, right on the corner there by the Starbucks, near St. Mark's and across the street from the IBM building, supposedly we're supposed to get a Wegmans there in a couple months, so. Hey, Ruby Falcone, good to see you. Welcome, Ruby. Hey, Faith, there's always activities going on in Miami. Faith, when are you coming down to Miami? You know, Faith, I was thinking about you this morning because I got off the train, actually the bus. I always say train. But I got off the bus and I was actually looking at a building, and it was called the Miami Fashion Institute. I didn't even know we had a fashion institute here. NYC Cherry Group says, yeah, we already have a Wegmans in Brooklyn. You're right. I think that Wegmans is in the Navy Yard, isn't it? I think they built the Wegmans a couple years ago in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. You're right. Hey, William Carl says, what's the average income in Miami? That I'm not sure. Maybe like 48,000, 50,000. It could be higher now, but I think it's actually lower than the national average, I think. I'm actually curious. Could somebody Google that? The average annual income in Miami. The last time I checked, I think it may have been lower than the national average, I think. UPS says, is that a Lucid Studio? Yes. So this is a Lucid Studio. We'll take a walk to it. I think we've been here before on the streets. We've probably been here about 3 or 4 times already. Shaunos is 21,000 for an individual in 2019. That seems a little low, but maybe you're right. Yeah, Firevids is 21,800. Yeah, I think it's actually significantly lower than the US average, isn't it? Shaunos' household is 39,000 US dollars. So what is the average household income in America? I think it's what, over 50 or now 60? I know it's definitely below the national average, I think. National average is 39, says Firevids. Yeah, I definitely knew it was below the national average. Yeah, Warwalker says Whole Foods is like buying food at the airport every day. So these are my 2 favorite buildings in Mary Brickell Village right here. Hey Dutchman, good to see you, my friend. Yeah, so tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day, isn't it? I think tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. Completely lost track of time, but it is. Yeah, NYC Cherry Goose looks like a Buick. But if you guys are enjoying the stream tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video. Short topic for tonight, but we were talking about the Federal Reserve did manage to raise interest rates by 25 basis points. Also, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell did signal that they will be discussing the possibility of unwinding their near $9 trillion balance sheet starting next meeting. Hey, the Swan says, Tom, it's officially St. Patrick's Day here in Ireland. Very cool. Hey, Pineapple Water says, hey, Tom, you said a train instead of a bus. And you also said here in New York. So I went to see for myself where you actually are. I know. I'm so used to streaming in New York that I'm like, here in New York or there in New York, there's going to be a Wegmans. So I don't think we've ever been in this entrance before. Cindy Foley says, thanks for the beautiful stream tonight. Good night and stay safe. Yes, tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. Anybody doing anything interesting for St. Patrick's Day? Or just sort of doing the same thing? I know nobody has off. Richard Walters says, how much was rents in Miami during the 90s? I don't know. I was born in 95. But I could tell you could probably buy a single family home in Miami during the 90s for probably like $80,000, maybe a little less. You know, some of the homes that are selling right now for $500,000 only 2 years ago were about $200,000. So the price increase is unfortunately really egregious. Hey, Out and About is here. Good to see you, Out and About. Out and About is our moderator from Canada. Toronto, Canada, to be more specific. Yeah, so Cherry Group, that's a good point. I have not yet found a Korean place, but I believe on 179th Street, this dog is great. I believe on 179th Street there is a lot of Asian cuisine. So hopefully I will find a Korean place that I like relatively soon. But not yet. I have been to one Korean place which is decent, but so far nothing like New York. Hey, my friend Oscar Diaz here says hi, Tom, or hi, all Tom. Excuse my ignorance, but with the Fed raising rates, what does it do? Oh, hold on. So essentially, it makes borrowing money more expensive, right? So the theory is if you raise rates too much, it's going to put a cap on economic growth and slow down inflation, because if a business tries to get a loan, or if consumers try to get a loan, or let's say if you try to buy a house or something like that, instead of getting your extremely low interest rate, you're going to be paying a little bit more for that money. And that's why, on Wall Street, they've coined the term cheap money, because we've been, ever since 2008, we've had artificially low interest rates, which has allowed big corporations and billionaires to borrow money at extraordinarily low levels. And if you do the math, if you think about it, if inflation is running at 7.9%, and if you can borrow money at 3%, well, then technically the money is free, right? So they call it free money. So you could use that to buy other assets that generate cash flow. But as interest rates rise, money becomes more expensive. But as we were talking about on the stream, 25 basis points is really nothing, right? It's 0.25%. So I really don't think it'll have too much impact in my view. But I could be wrong, but in my opinion, I don't think it'll do anything to fight inflation. Elliot Wave Reviews says, how do you feel about Saudi accepting yuan for oil? So we were talking about that briefly too. I think it's very negative for the US dollar. I think if it actually happens, we could see massive economic turmoil here in the United States. But here's a fact, and it's not really a good fact. I mean, the petrodollar is really protected by the might of the US military, right? So a lot of our military bases are protecting a lot of these oil refineries and things like that in the Middle East. So that's why, in my opinion, I don't think that we're really going to ever go away from the petrodollar, but I could be wrong. But if that happens, there's going to be significant trouble in the United States. Hey, Daniel says, how you doing? Miami looks beautiful. I'm doing really good. Miami is beautiful. I'm liking it a lot so far. So this is 2 Brickell City Center. EMG, you have McKinsey, and I think Deloitte is on the other side. But WeWork is here too. Crazy Auto, good to see you. Somebody says, how's the weather there? The weather is really good. It's about 80 degrees today, bright sun, and actually not too humid. It wasn't too humid today, surprisingly. Roy S. says, Tom, did I miss newsletter number 19? You didn't, Roy. I'm actually tardy on that, but I've just been so busy. This week crushed me so far. So I didn't have time to complete the newsletter. I should be able to get it out tomorrow. So I apologize for the tardiness in releasing that newsletter. But no, you didn't miss it. It's just I didn't get a chance to send it out yet. I apologize. But it will be out soon. That I do promise you. I just needed to take care of a couple things at work. Bob says, Tom, my brother bought his single family in Miami for $92,000 in 1992 and sold it for $250,000 in 2005. Wow. Could you imagine what he could sell it for today if he kept it? Damn. I mean, that's crazy capital appreciation there. I mean, congratulations to him. That's phenomenal. Hey, Lisa is here. Hey, Lisa, good to see you. Roy says no need to apologize. Appreciate that, Roy. Yeah, it's just, so especially when you're in sales, sometimes you have these unexpected things happen to customers where like you need to put attention on it right now. And so one of the products that I sell, there was a major outage at the company because essentially I was working on a big deal for failover, like for routers. So we sold almost up to about 2,500 routers now were deployed in the field. But the company where we're buying these routers, they're located in Lithuania, right? And I don't really need to say anymore. You could already imagine what they're going through there. So the company is extremely, extremely short-staffed. So the problem is they experienced an outage, but all of their software engineers of the company, literally almost all of them, are out for obvious reasons. Because Lithuania borders Belarus. So it just took an unbelievable amount of time to get these routers up and running again. And it wasn't fun. Let's just say that, it was not fun. Triple G's Lithuanian routers. Yeah, and you know, that just adds to another supply chain crisis, as you can imagine. But very good product, by the way. Hey, Mohammed is here. Says good morning, bro, from Malaysia. Hey, Mohammed. It's good to see you. We are at Brickell City Center. Dwart55 says it is 10:17 according to my iPhone. Hey, everybody, speaking about the time, did anybody see that new bill to make daylight savings time permanent? Did anybody see that? So supposedly, if this is passed, we're not going to have to flip the clocks back and forth all the time. What are you guys' thoughts on that? NYC Cherrygoose says, Tom, is a Starlink available in Miami? That I'm not sure. I've heard a couple people wanting to get it in the Carolinas, and supposedly there's like a massive waiting list for Starlink. Triple G's like, yes, let's take a poll on that. All right, we'll run a poll. Dwarf55 says Lululemon is Canadian. And so is Shopify. Shopify is Canadian. Dale says no more clock changing. Yeah, it seems like it is a good idea, a popular idea. So I really want to do a stream during the day, but obviously I can't due to work. But this place is rocking during the day. It is really, really cool to see this place during the day because there's so many people. You know, obviously now since it's nighttime, there's not a lot of people here, but this place looks really cool when there's a lot of people buzzing around, especially a lot of people working and things like that. It's almost like a Manhattan type of vibe. It's really nice. Samson says, Tom, did you hear that we'll be able to see the Northern Lights in New York City? Is that true? I'm not sure if we'll ever be able to see that because of all the light pollution. But if that's true, I'd love that. These chairs are actually really nice. Hey, Justin says, hi, Tom. I hope you are well from Osaka, Japan. Hey, what's up, everybody from Japan? Hope you are well. So supposedly there's a tsunami warning in Japan. So I hope everybody is okay. Ron Metro TV says, what about a day stream on the weekends? During the weekends, that's usually when I catch up on my reading. So during the day, I'm usually reading and writing the newsletter. So 8:30 is really, you know, the only time I have the stream because I usually end work around like 7-ish. Then I could get something to eat and then hang out with you guys. but good to see you. Dale. Lisa says, Tom, there was a 7.3% earthquake in Japan. Whoa. Well, I hope everybody is safe. Dale says, daylight savings time doesn't help anybody. Hey, Pineapple Water is here. Says, my vote is that when it's 90 degrees at 9 p.m. and still sunny because daylight saving time, it's awful. I wish there were never daylight savings time. Interesting. Hey, Alan Wilson says, I feel as if they make daylight savings time permanent. Within a couple of years, there will be people... Yeah, that's true. Al Baker says, Tom, what are your thoughts on the Chinese stocks today, like JD and Alibaba? Yeah, so I think Alibaba and JD were up like 40% today. The risk is still too high for a lot of those ADRs, or the American depository receipts of those companies. But look, if we could have a massive follow-through day tomorrow, we could have more upside. But you got to understand, JD and Alibaba, these stocks are down like 90%. So could you imagine all of the short covering on those names? You know, just the short covering alone probably really ripped those stocks to the moon. So I'd be very cautious about buying those Chinese equities. Samson says, Golden Dragon Index calling are printing cash. Or calls are printing cash. Christina says, Tom, do you drink any energy drinks to get yourself going? You always seem very enthusiastic. So no energy drinks, but I will say I probably do drink too much coffee. I think that is my one downside. I think I would say I probably have an addiction to it, to be honest. Hey, Sparks says, Tom, Beijing signaled support for the stocks. Yeah, I mean, I think we're probably going to see the People's Bank of China also come in here and bail out the Chinese commercial paper market too. Well, good to see you, Sparks. Hope you're well. I think we'll go this way. Very rarely do we go this way on the stream. Robert says coffee is the best. Good to see you, Robert. Yeah, photos from around New York. It's like light roast equals more caffeine. I learned that 3 days ago. I never knew that. I always thought dark roast meant more caffeine, but I guess that is not the case. But Faith, this is called Brickell City Center. This is an indoor-outdoor mall. And according to Action Kid, the ceiling is designed for optimal airflow, which I guess makes sense because we have a lot of hurricanes here. Hey, Tom says, Tom. Hey, what's up, Tom? Says, do you find coffee progressively makes you more tired throughout the weeks? I don't, for some reason. I think the reason why I really don't get burnt out is because I think I probably run and walk a lot, I think. You know, if we do about 5 miles a day after work, streaming, and then sometimes in the morning I run if I'm in Miami. In New York, it's too cold and miserable, at least right now, to run outside. So, I mean, if I'm doing 10 miles a day, either walking or running, I mean, I'm not really super tired. The Swan says, I don't know how anybody drinks coffee. So a lot of Irish people, I guess, from Ireland aren't big fans of coffee, right? Elliot Waves, Tom, it's designed for airflow to keep customers cool and comfortable while they're shopping, not because of the hurricanes. I guess that makes more sense. So this is supposedly the oldest bar in America, or one of which, right here on South 7th Street. Elaine is here. Hey, Elaine, good to see you. Sharon Lee, this is Invest in Black Rifle Coffee Company. Yeah, so I think Black Rifle Coffee Company actually went public via SPAC, or Special Purpose Acquisition Company. I do know of another coffee company that is publicly traded in addition to Starbucks, which is Bros, or Two Bros. I think the ticker symbol is BROS. Has anybody ever been to Bros Coffee? Or Dutch Bros, I believe it's called, right? Dutch Bros Coffee. Gregory's is Irish Coffee. Sup, Gregory? Hope you had a good day today. Elliot Wave, good to see you. We were just talking about the Federal Reserve raising interest rates 25 basis points. Mimi says, I love coffee, but I am drinking Japanese green tea right now. So is it true? I think Japanese green tea has more caffeine than coffee. Or is that fake news? Or is that matcha? I think matcha may have more caffeine. Hey, Two Wheel Pines, like Tom, they just brought Dutch Bros Coffee to Colorado. Dennis Henry says, Dutch Bros, okay, not great. I've never tried it. I'm actually curious to try it, actually. Ruby Falcone says, yes, love my Dutch Bros too much, I admit. Ruby, where are they located, do you know? Hopefully they'll bring one to Miami. So maybe, let's call it Friday, because I think tomorrow I'm going to be pretty busy. But maybe Friday during the day we'll do a fun sort of like 24-hour stream from the office window here at the WeWork building. Just like, remember when we used to do the Bryant Park streams? So maybe we'll leave that up just so people could see a view or something like that. But that's to be determined. Emilio J says, I met the Dutch Bros. They're only like 25% Dutch. Funny. Sharon Lee says, who's we? Do you have somebody with you? No, when I say we, I mean like you guys watching. All right, so let's head back over to downtown Miami. We have to make our way over there anyway. Hey, Jeff says, you can't beat Yorkshire tea. It's the best, but I'm a Yorkshire man, so I could be biased. Good to see you, Jeff. Welcome, my friend. NYC Cherry Guru says, Tom, what's up with the fake news? Being wrong isn't fake news. It's just a mistake. Misinformation is fake news. Yeah, I say fake news is like a gag or a joke. Because I think the term fake news sounds funny. Just like fake news. Not meaning it to be realistic in any way. Just I think it sounds funny. Sometimes I say it in a trolling nature, I guess, for Donald Trump's speech, stuff like that, just for fun. Christina says, Tom, do you ever go to Rhode Island? Lost Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale? I've never been to Fort Lauderdale yet, but that is in the works. I think the number one place where I want to go to when I'm down here in Florida is Key West. But then again, I think I need a car for that because I don't think there's public transportation that goes there. So if we do go out there, I think I probably need to rent a car. But I think that's probably my first stop. Roy S. says, Tom is selling Wounded Knees tickets a fake to buy a yacht in Miami. Definitely fake news. Yes, it is. Hey, Ken Glass says, Tom, how can you get ready for a future IPO so can buy fast when available? Never did this. So Ken, there's actually been some research done. So I would recommend the book. One of my acquaintances wrote a very good book about the history of IPO activity. And the book is called Life Cycle Trade by Kathy Donnelly and Eve Bobach. And Eve Bobach used to actually work for the Federal Reserve. Now she is a senior portfolio manager and trader at Ropel Capital Management. So check out that book. It's called Life Cycle of Trade. And it is a complete in-depth study on all IPOs, I think over the last 70 years. And according to the data, the statistics show that you should probably not buy a brand new issue right when it hits an exchange, because almost 90% of new IPOs undercut their IPO price within a year of going public. So check out that book. I think it's like 20 bucks off of Amazon. These two ladies are extremely smart. They did a really, really well, thorough, in-depth study on the IPO market, and it is called Life Cycle Trade by Eve Bobach and Kathy Donnelly. So that's why, you know, a lot of the times you'll watch CNBC and everybody will be pumping all these IPOs, but it's actually advantageous to wait a little bit before you buy an initial public offering. And the reason for that is because there's something called institutional due diligence. So if we think about what an IPO is in its simplest form, it's essentially the transfer of ownership from the private market to the public market. So you think about like a founder of the company, venture capital, private equity, transferring that ownership of the company to the public. So that could be anything, pension funds, it could be big mutual funds, hedge funds, and even retail investors like you and me. So during that period, a lot of analysts on Wall Street at some of the major investment banks will initiate coverage on these stocks, right? So usually what they like to do is they like to see if the validity of those earnings of that company is real. Because a lot of the times you'll have, you know, greedy, you know, banks just want to make the fee income on the IPO, the stock IPOs, and then they miss every single earnings report for the next 5 months. But if you have a stock that consistently beats analysts' expectations and raises forward guidance, then more analysts are going to recommend to their portfolio managers to allocate capital to that particular stock, right? So that's why it's very important to at least let 3 to 6 earnings reports roll through before you make an investment, because you want to make sure the management of that company is on the right track. Their earnings or their EPS is growing, their revenues are growing, their profit margins are growing. And if you just buy it on the day of the IPO, you know, there could be some funny accounting there. So that's sort of my take on that. Hey, Savi is here. Good to see you, Savi. This is good evening, Tom and everybody. Savi, long time no see. Hope you're having a good Wednesday so far. Unlimited Stimulus is Rivian IPO, case in point, wait to buy. Yeah, and I think Rivian is a company that has very little sales and no earnings. Hey, Frank Gonzalez is here. This is bus from Miami to Key West, Tom, twice a day, around 4 hours, $20. By car is 3.5, so not much of a difference. Maybe we'll have to do that, Frank. Thank you for that. Hey, Crystal says, is it next week you'll be in Philly? Did I hear you correct? That is true. So next week we're going to be doing a lot of traveling on the channel. I have to be back in New York for a little bit, and then I'm going to take an Amtrak to Philly. So check out this shot with the palm tree and the full moon. Hey, Jonathan Richards is here. What's up, Jonathan? Hope you're well. So Jonathan, we finally got our 25 basis point rate hike. I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are around that. And then this is the W Hotel right here in Miami. Hey Christine, this is the Alexander Hotel. It's a great place to stay when in Philly. Samsung says, so buy Leap puts on IPOs. I guess that's one way to think about it, but I guess it just depends on the timing. Because, I don't know, very seldom do I mess around in the derivatives market for speculation. Mainly just because I'm not good at it. Yeah, Jonathan says, I think a rate hike is needed. So I can't wait until this Aston Martin building is complete. NYC Cherry Goose says, Tom, when you do make it to Havana, make sure you try Tecola. It is even more tastier than Mexican cane Coca-Cola. I'm definitely going to try that. Yeah, I mean, we'll see Cherry Groove. Hopefully, as everything opens up, you know, we'll be able to make our rounds to other countries. I think that'd be fun. So here we are at the Capitol Grill, walking back over to downtown Miami from Brickell, where we just were. And we always stream from the Capitol Grill near Wall Street and the New York Stock Exchange. Pacific Desert rates is another 4 years to go till construction finishes. Is that true? No way. I think this Aston Martin building opens later this year. I'll show everybody the full moon here. Pacific Desert Raids, didn't you say it was 2026? No, I think what's 2026 I think is the Bentley Design Tower. I think the Bentley Tower is 2026. What's it called? The Waldorf Astoria may also be 2026. But I think the Aston Martin building could be completed later this year, but I'm not too sure on that. Hey, Jonathan Richards says the Brickell area is amazing. Yeah, that's one of my favorite spots over there for sure. Yeah, Pacific Desert Raids, like I must have been getting them mixed up. I mean, there's so much construction here. You know, over the weekend I was taking a walk around Wynwood as well as Edgewater, and I really want to stream from those two locations because it is so beautiful over there. But the only problem is the internet is not too good over there. But the amount of construction is just unbelievable. There's so many multi-family apartment complexes going up, so many office buildings. It's almost not even to be believed. So maybe we'll have to do some sort of standalone video so I could show you guys. But Edgewater as well as Wynwood is fantastic. Al Baker. This is Tom, the Aston Martin building will open in 2022. Alan Wilson. Hey Christine, this is Tom. The Helmut John building is a must-see in Philly. He is world famous. Yeah, hopefully I can get a chance to walk around when I'm in Philly. We'll see. Hopefully we can. So here's a shot of where we just were. So we were streaming around this area near the Bank of America Tower. If you guys are enjoying the stream so far, feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new, as we see the City National Bank. Is this called the Miami Tower or is it City National Bank? XOXX Bob says, Tom, Wynwood used to be the warehouse district. You know, I think Wynwood is probably my favorite location now in Miami. And I've only been there once. I gotta have some more time to explore it, but beautiful, beautiful neighborhood. Jonathan Richards says, Tom, can you stream while in Philly? We may be able to get in a quick stream, but here's the only thing. I gotta present to a client, and then I gotta do the whole wining and dining, taking them out to dinner. So I'm not too sure how long we will have, but I really want to get some footage of the new Amtrak terminal from the new Moynihan train station. So we will be streaming that. I'm not sure how the quality is going to be in terms of the internet, but so this is the Wells Fargo building. And then the Hyatt Regency. You know, the Hyatt Regency actually looks quite old. Doesn't it look like an older hotel? Has anybody ever stayed here? Jonathan Richards says, quick stream would be great too. We'll try to get a stream in. I'll probably have time to get the newsletter out tomorrow. But if not, it'll be out the following Monday. Just because I did not anticipate the craziness of this week. But speaking of the Whole Foods, everybody, we were talking about that earlier in the stream. Here we are. This may be one of the most expensive Whole Foods I've ever been in. Sebastian is here. Good to see you, Sebastian. Hey, Days Works says that's the Cake Tower. Pineapple Waters is the Wining and Dining, and Tom Language is the Dog and Pony Show. That is true. So one of the things I like most about Miami is this Metro Mover that snakes through the entire city. It makes it look so futuristic. It's crazy. But Pineapple Water, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. The Swans, like there's not enough hours in the day. Agreed. Sharon Lee says, you mean you're not going to go see the Liberty Bell or the Betsy Ross house? I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to do as many things as I can. Also, I think it's probably gonna be pending on the weather too. If the weather's not good, we may not be able to stream. So here we are, everybody, on Southeast 3rd Street. You could see a little bit of the Aston Martin building in the back. And I think we got the light. So this is the front entrance of the Whole Foods. I believe it closes at 11. Photos from around New York says walks in Wall Street. The building is the City National Bank, but the top is Miami Tower. But there is also another building called City National Bank Building. Very interesting. Here we have the SunTrust building. During the day, there's so many people here. Yeah, Jonathan Richards is like Dog and Pony shows are absolutely necessary in sales. They are, and they can be fun. They can be really fun as well. Hey, Carolina Tom is here. Good evening, Tom. Love the Miami at night. Good to see you, Carolina Tom. So Carolina Tom, what are your thoughts on the Federal Reserve's verbiage today? You know, we did get that 25 basis point rate hike. Stocks did take off, but here's my only concern about the price action in the stock market today. A lot of the stocks that were up big, and I mean really big, like 30%, were all of these very beaten down growth stocks So it could have been, you know, sort of like a short covering major rally. I do think there was a lot of buying on the street, but I think the number one thing we got to wait for is tomorrow. You know, if we close higher, or if we close in the green tomorrow on higher than normal volume, I think we can conclusively say that that's a follow through day, and I'll probably be adding a little bit. Hey, Cynthia Beals here. Hey, Cynthia, good to see you. The Swan says, I don't know how anybody finds their way around New York City. Alan Wilson says, Tom, you are allowed to add some additional hours to go sightseeing. We'll see. I gotta find out the train times, Alan. Arturo Flores says, do you own Tesla stock? I don't. Well, I guess technically that's not true, because I own Tesla stock via the, what's it called? Index funds that I own. I guess we'll cross the street here. And I think Tesla makes up about 2% of the S&P 500. So I guess indirectly through an S&P 500 index fund, I do own Tesla. Carolina Tom says, sideways market for the next 3 years. Dividends are your friend. This is Carolina Tom. Yeah, I think you could be right. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out for sure. Hey, Melee is here. Says, good evening from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Good to see you. Melee, hope you're well. Could we get a quick time check in the chat? I just want to make sure we're right on time. I think this is going to be perfect timing on the stream, because we're going to be able to end it right at the FTX arena, where I have to get the bus anyway. 10:48, bingo, right on time. Cynthia Beals says, Miami seems very spread out. Yeah, I mean, we've probably covered less than probably 5% of Miami. We got to go to Coral Gables. We got to go to so many places. But this is going to be all new construction too. So this is the plaza at Southeast Financial Center. It's going to be all brand new. There's so much construction in Miami that it's crazy. I think the most construction I've ever seen here in Southern Florida is Edgewater and Wynwood. The Swan is like, Miami is a huge place. So I think based on design alone, I think probably the Southeast Financial Center is one of my favorite buildings. I'll give you guys a shot of what it looks like all the way up. And here we got the Metro Mover once again. Yeah, Take Me to the Seas is also Coconut Grove. Carolina Tom says, Tom, I'm fully invested 2 weeks ago in dividend income funds only. So Carolina Tom, any tickers? Any tickers you could let us in on? I want to give it a look. So this is the Metro Mover right outside of Bayfront Park Station, where you can get the Metro Mover. I believe this is free. So this public transportation is free for anybody to use. And let's see where it goes. You know, I think they should expand this Metro Mover all the way uptown to Sunny Isles Beach. That would be ideal. I think it would probably cost billions of dollars. It's probably not in the budget, but I think it'd be cool. Because I'm more of a train person than a bus person. I've been taking the bus a lot here, but I'm definitely more of a train person than a bus. $55 says renting a car, maybe $100 a day, plus insurance and gasoline. Sharon Lee, good to see you. Carolina Tom says RYLDJEPI. Let me take a screenshot of that. I'm gonna do a little bit of work and check those out. So now we are headed towards FTX Arena, formerly called American Airlines Arena. And the owner of FTX, I think he's 29 years old, and he's worth something like $30 billion. So kind of crazy. FTX is a cryptocurrency exchange. Robert Davis says, Tom, the stream is blurry. Maybe my lens. Let me see if I could refocus it. Yep, Animal DL, good to see you. You're right. So this is historic Biscayne Boulevard, gateway to Miami. Supposedly there's supposed to be a big music festival here, but I've been hearing rumors that it may be canceled. Has anybody else heard that? Supposedly it may be canceled. So this is East Flagler Street. We probably should walk down here, but I don't think we'll have time to do it tonight. But East Flagler Street is really, really nice. I think we took a walk down here during NFT week. Does anybody remember that? On NFT week, we took a walk down there. Hey, Gummy Bear says, does Miami have a subway? There's no subways in Miami, but we do have these elevated trains. Also, we have that Bright Line, I think. Is it called Bright Line? Crazy Autos is the EDM Molly Fest. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of music festivals, but some people are. Hey, Sergey says hello from Moscow. I see the full moon in the sky from my window now. Hey, Sergey, good to see you, my friend. Hope you're having a good night. Ron Metro TVs. To some folks, if you're watching on a smart TV, it can lower the resolution. So something that's interesting, when I go back into the YouTube analytics, over 35% of the people who watch this stream watch it on a TV. Isn't that crazy? I thought it was going to be a very high percentage of smartphone users, but a lot of people, I guess, watch it on a TV, which is cool as well. Yeah, Faith says, Tom, you're getting more familiar with Miami. I think I'm learning it as I go. We definitely do enough miles around the city, for sure. I think about in a year, if I live here for a year, I'll probably get up more to speed than I would as in New York. Gummy Bear says it's spotless where Tom is, but I wonder what the outlying neighborhoods look like. That's a good point. So I think in any city, in any major city, you're gonna have your good areas and you're gonna have your bad areas. But this, I work in the financial district, so there's definitely not gonna be too much dirt or garbage on the ground. So this is the major setup for that music festival here. Hey, Days Works he's worth $32 billion. all off cryptocurrency. Yeah, so I think he originally started by trading cryptocurrencies in college, and he was such a good trader that he made about $20 million. And then he used those profits from trading to create FTX, which is now here sponsoring the arena. Faith says, Tom, you can give tour guides once you're settled in and take us around while we visit. 100,000%. I'm down for that. So this is Bayfront Park. Christina says, Tom is kind of dicey at Liberty City and Overtown. I'm not too sure what those areas are, to be honest. I only moved to Miami about 4 months ago, so I apologize. I don't really know where those locations are. The only reason why I know Liberty City is I only know the name because I believe Chad Johnson or Ocho Cinco grew up there. Hey, Sherry says, Tom, I always watch you on the TV. It's a great way to see all these beautiful buildings. Awesome, Sherry, and thank you for watching. I appreciate you watching very, very much. Thank you, Sherry. Melee, appreciate it. Gregory's like Dogecoin billionaire. Hilarious. Hey, Carolina Tom says, I watch you on my 56-inch TV. That must look fantastic. I'm not sure what this building is. Hey, Lee is here. Hey, what's up, Lee? This is Ultra Music Festival. The city of Miami has estimated that since 2012, Ultra has generated approximately $995 million of economic impact, with $168 million in 2018 alone. Wow. That's insane. So Lee, wasn't it canceled the last 2 years due to the Big C? Hey, Tom says, looks like Ultra Music Festival is still on in 8 days. Dog D says they have had riots in Liberty City and Overtown in the 1980s. Jonathan Richards says, Tom, I watch you on my 65-inch screen TV. It's glorious. War Walker says, hey, I'm watching on my Samsung 65-incher. Awesome, War Walker. So I wonder how the comments show up. Oh, the comments may show up on your phone then, I believe, right? Not on the TV. Now I'm actually curious about that. So as we're streaming, because I see the comments on the left-hand side, so my comments show up here. I'm reading the comments here. So I'm not sure if you're watching on a TV, maybe they don't show up. Maybe it's on a phone. Santos is crystal clear video quality. Thank you, Santo. Tensor 187X says, when and why did you move to Miami from New York City? So I think the number one reason is just due to business and due to work. Obviously, the property taxes down here are a little bit more affordable. I always wanted to buy my first investment property. So I was originally going to buy my first investment property on Long Island, where I am from, but I couldn't justify paying $12,000 to $16,000 in property taxes, at least not yet at this stage in my life. I just can't afford it right now. Maybe in the future. I think in the future I will buy property in New York, but I just can't afford it right now. And number two is just due to work. So the majority of my clients are in New York, but a lot of M&A activity has been taking place, in which case some of my big home healthcare customers and nursing home customers are acquiring home healthcare agencies as well as nursing homes here in Southern Florida, so I could service my customers a little bit better, as well as save on some of the income taxes. And also I wanted to establish a second sort of home base that I could escape the New York City winters. I'm not a big fan of the cold, but I love New York City. So I think there's two types of people. A lot of people leave New York City because they're disgruntled or something like that, which I was a teeny bit disgruntled. The only reason why I was disgruntled is because, when at my previous tech company that I worked at, the taxes I would pay was almost insane. It was almost near 50% of my income was going to taxes, which I actually don't have any issue paying taxes at all. But my issue is with the representation. So if I see homeless people on the streets not getting the help they need, in my head, I'm like, wait, why is this guy living on the street, doesn't have any food, but I live in one of the most highest tax districts in the world? Like, where is this money going? So that only leads me to believe it's political corruption. And that's not to say political corruption doesn't exist here in Florida, because it does. But I would rather not pay that amount when I can't see the benefit, right? But, we do have a new mayor, Eric Adams, and let's give him a shot. Let's give him a shot. Two Explores videos is Walks in Wall Street. You have the ability to show comments on the live streams as we do. Distracting and could be good for the moderators. I think this is one of my favorite buildings here. This is the Paramount building directly to the right of the Freedom Tower. Hey, Jackie says chat doesn't show on my TV. Does it depend on the kind of TV you have? So I think, as everybody was saying in the chat, it may be the settings of your TV. Potentially maybe the settings. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of comments about the tax stuff. Yeah, so for me, I think, you guys know I tend to lean more conservative, but here's where I think I differ from most conservatives, and I think it may just be because of the generation I grew up in. I actually don't mind paying the high tax. I really don't. Could you, if, let's say if New York City announced the plan to revamp all the subways, where every single subway is going to be redone, brand new, it's going to be safe down there, they're going to add more train lines, all that stuff, and I'm still paying 40%, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, everything's nicer on the weekends, I could walk around, it's going to be nicer. I really don't mind paying the taxes. I don't. And I think the vast majority of people do not mind. But when you see extremely high tax on top of declining infrastructure and declining quality of life, well, then that's a problem, right? Then there's no incentive for me to stay there. But that's just how I think about it. Marty Lewis says, I watch on my TV, but I have the chat up on my laptop. If I have the chat up on the TV, I cannot read it. It's probably pixelated. But I love New York City. My dream is to be able to afford to buy something in Manhattan. And I think that'll happen later in life. But that is my goal, to buy something in New York City. I think no matter how terrible the politics get in New York, people want to be in New York City. I want to be in New York City, in my personal opinion. So hopefully, maybe when I'm in my 30s, I could buy something there. We'll see. Who knows? Crazy Auto says Florida could fix some problems by jacking up property taxes on foreign-owned mega mansions. Yeah, so I think there's actually some legislative work around that now, isn't there? Something like that? I think that conversation came into play due to this whole Russia situation where they're buying a lot of property in Sunny Isles Beach, things like that. So this is the FTX arena where the one and only Miami Heat play. Pacific Desert Raids says NYC is where the business is at. Indeed. UPS is, I'm the same, but I want it to be used correctly and for everybody. I live in a conservative state, low taxes. Trust me, you get what you pay for. Yeah, you're 100% right. You are 100,000% right. Hey, Tina Me says, is tax value. It's tax value and your taxes to have good, safe place to live, says Tina. Yeah, so that, I mean, in theory, right? In theory, that would be great. Hey, Two Videos Explorer says, you guys are great. And a live walk with viewers, the chat window takes away from the said view. Melee says, I agree, Tom, 100%. You are for speaking the truth. You are right, thank you. Hey, Vic TWE1 is here. Good to see you, my friend. So everybody, just a quick recap of the stream before we close it out here. The Federal Reserve obviously raised interest rates 25 basis points today. We did also get some clarity on whether or not the Federal Reserve will be unwinding their now growing $9 trillion balance sheet. But as I've always said, it's more important to watch what the Federal Reserve is actually doing. Don't really listen to what they're saying. So if you go on the Federal Reserve's website, you could actually look at their balance sheet in real time and seeing if it's growing or not, and it is growing. You know, and what's on the Federal Reserve's balance sheet is predominantly mortgage-backed securities and the U.S. Treasuries. But supposedly at the next meeting, the next FOMC meeting, we are going to get more clarity in regards to whether or not they're going to unwind that balance sheet. I don't think so. I think they are going to continue to print money and buy assets. That is just me. Could be wrong. That 10-year U.S. Treasury yield is now solidly above 2%. So we'll keep an eye out on that. When I go home tonight, I'm going to look at the price and volume indicators and see if today qualified for a follow-through day. I have to look at the volume on the exchanges. I didn't get time to do that, but I will do that when I get home. So I'll give you guys one more shot of the Paramount building here. Jay says, God bless Ukraine. Gummy Bear says, 1107. Vic TWE1 says, I want to win your trust. Gummy Bear says, when I was in Atlanta, I saw the Hawks play Miami Heat in a playoff game. Awesome. Melee says, yes, Tom, you should run for mayor in New York City in 2026. I would never do politics, ever. But everybody, we're going to end it here. I appreciate everybody walking around Miami with me tonight. I hope everybody has a phenomenal rest of their week. Already Thursday, so Thursday tomorrow. So have a great Thursday. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Brian, thank you so much. If you guys enjoyed the stream, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more videos. Also, if you want to sign up for a free investing newsletter, if you type !news, N-E-W-S in the chat, the Nightbot will drop the link to the Behind the Street newsletter. Please join us over there. If you want to follow us on LinkedIn or Discord, links are in the description, and you can connect with us on Twitter at Walks Wall Street. So Samantha R, thank you so much. Photos from around New York. Tina To Me, the Swan, the ABX girl, Alan Wilson, out and about. Two Wheel Pines, Savi Abdullah, Bond, James Bond, Sherry Santo Lemonade, Jackie Carmen, thank you, Bianca M, Sally, Cosmo Scary, and whoever I missed, thank you so much for joining. We will see you right back here tomorrow in the Magic City. And to the Mighty Bull, have a good night wherever you are, because there's always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look, and I'll see everybody right back here tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your night.